So Patrick had a question. He said, for 1 minute divergence, how long does it need to be valid? Really, too short, meaning if it's only like 5, 10, 15 minutes, that is invalid. But I've drawn divergence from 3 hours, 4 hours on the 1 minute from one session into the other session, and I've still used that. So it's really about just finding structure from the divergence, find the bottom or the top. That's the price point that you want to see held. And then you want to see structure move away from that. So if you were drawing divergence on the bottom and you find that bottom price, that's your low, every structure point above that can confirm that divergence as your bottom and give you tighter stop losses. I hope that makes sense, Patrick. But I want to read to you guys from Exceptional Trading again. This is Ruth Barron Roosevelt's book. I really, really love this book. This is my second time reading through it. We're reading from the chapter called Emotions. This is chapter 4, page 74. If you have the book and you'd like to follow along. Now this is like church or Hebrew school or whatever it is. I feel like I just was like the pastor telling you exactly what page we're reading. That was funny. She says, emotions are messengers. The reason why I wanted to read this chapter specifically, I'm not going to read the whole thing to you, of course, but the reason why I wanted to share this chapter with you guys is because I know you guys are not all reading this book, number one, but number two, I know a lot of you guys have questions. Like even today, we had people in the live chat saying, how do I handle emotions if I'm trying to pass a funding challenge and I'm getting to the end of the challenge and I feel like I need to force trades to get to my goal? Or some people were saying in the chat, after taking losses, how do you present your psychology from getting screwed up? It's really an understanding of emotions, and it's actually deeper than understanding. It's awareness. Understanding can't come unless we are aware. And I think too often we think we're aware of things when in reality, they're more in control of us than we are in control of them. Something that's come to me a lot in the last probably 2 years through my meditation every day. I only meditate for 10 minutes a day normally now. Sometimes I do 2 10-minute sessions, but I'm actually going to be pushing into a new type of meditation, which you'll hear about later. But anyway, the reason why I brought that up is meditation has helped me be aware of my thoughts and my emotions and not attached to them. You can actually see them, almost as like you're just this being and these thoughts and emotions are aliens that come through your mind and through your body and they try to take over and drive the decisions that you make in that moment. But with awareness, you can be aware that that's happening and act differently. So let me read to you this section and then we'll talk about it. She says, emotions are messengers. It's important to know just what emotion you are feeling because emotions are messengers. You can think of an emotion as a wise, caring friend who is telling you something vital to your interests. It's important to listen and pay attention. Just as physical symptoms tell you something about your body and your life, so do too emotions. Emotions are signals about what is going on in your life. Ongoing and chronic depression is a signal that a person needs to change something about his or her life. Often, our response to an unpleasant emotion is to just get rid of it. People turn to drinking, smoking, eating, Prozac, and so forth to eliminate uncomfortable feelings. And we all know at this point that is not the answer. This does not resolve the underlying situation or give you the benefit of the message the emotion is giving you. Having an emotion about your emotions blocks you from learning from the initial feeling. Listen, having an emotion about your emotion blocks you from learning the initial feeling. Rather than sidestepping an emotion or trying to flatten it, right? Like a lot of traders want to get rid of their emotions and not feel them. It's important to pay attention because pleasant or unpleasant, the emotion is a signal about some aspect of your life or activity. Each emotion has a functionable attribute. The positive emotions tell you that something's right, to pay attention to what you're doing well, and to keep doing what you're doing. Many people are afraid to allow themselves to feel the joyful emotions such as love, excitement, rejoice, confidence, satisfaction, or even gratitude because they're afraid that they won't last and they'll be disappointed. That is so true for traders. So often we literally would whitewash, as Dr. Steenbarger calls it, whitewash the good things that we do. We overlook them and we beat the shit out of ourselves for the negative things that we do. Even in situations where the negative things are so small, we linger on those rather than big up in ourselves, patting ourselves on the back for the things that we've done well. She goes on to say, to this, I would say life's fleeting joys are wonderful highlights that lead the way to more. You tend to get more out of what you pay attention to. You're also establishing memories that you can hook into later to make your future more rewarding. If your trading is going well, let yourself feel good about it. Just don't lose discipline and don't lose clear vision of what the market is doing price-wise. The positive memory will give you strength when the inevitable drawdowns do occur. She says, one of my young trading assistants once told me that he had met the woman of his dreams who had everything he wanted in a woman. He went on to say that he was afraid to let himself care because he didn't want to get hurt. Who can relate to that? Probably everyone watching this stream. My response was to encourage him to go ahead and care and really enjoy the relationship. And if it came to an end, we could handle it then. And we'd have a wonderful memory and emotion to anchor into and to transfer into other situations. Years later, he told me that that was the best advice he'd ever gotten. He had married the woman and was very happy. Why? Because he went all in. Even if it had not turned out well, he still would have had a resource in the positive feelings of that memory. So again, these emotions are anchor points for us. Positive emotions are messages that are as we want them. To notice and invite and explore and develop positive emotions is to put yourself on the course of personal power. Negative emotions are a call to action, a call to change something, as they are a vital sign to your well-being and should not be ignored. Excuse me. Lastly here, the functional attribute of regret or remorse is a signal that you could have done something differently in the past. It appraises you to do something different in the future. This is called learning from mistakes, and it's an important part of trading. The functional attribute of fear and anxiety is warning that something in the future needs to be prepared for. In trading, if you've done your preparation, there is no need to fear. If the probabilities aren't in your favor, it's a signal to stop what you're doing and get a strategy that puts probabilities in your favor. The functional attribute of guilt is to notice that you have violated your own standards. You need to determine whose standards were violated. If it was someone else's standards, decide whether you want those standards to be your own. If you violated your own standards, resolve not to do so in the future. Each of these functional attributes is at the heart of emotional utilization. Once we accept the message, our approach is signified. So basically what she's saying is, with the right perspective, any of these negative emotions can be transformed into anchor points that are lessons and positive reinforcers for what we need to do going forward. So not only does it take meditation and awareness to feel the emotions properly and not let them drive your decision making. I still think that is step one. But then she says, let's take this a step further and anchor positive perspective into negative emotion. When we feel a negative emotion of fear of missing out, how can we flip that into a positive? For me, the quick thing is to think, okay, if I'm feeling FOMO, it's because I'm worried about forcing to make money. If I just get out of that scarcity of, oh, this is the only opportunity, I know instantly there's going to be another good trade tomorrow or the next day or whatever it may be. So it's about anchoring the positive lesson to the negative emotion, which does not happen unless we are aware of the emotions and we don't allow them to make trading decisions for us. Make sense? I love this book. Again, Exceptional Trading, The Mind Game, Ruth Barons Roosevelt. Mine's a little funny on the cover, as you can see, because I left it out at the pool in the sun. So kind of like got wrinkled. But highly recommend everybody reads that. TJ, you started reading the Four Agreements. That book is the game changer, bro. It is the simplest